Should be going live right about now. Yeah, we should be live already. Hello there, DW for Smash. Hello there, Danny. How are you all doing? Tonight we're gonna be talking about that Mario movie direct and Tears of the Kingdom, because I want to talk a little bit more about this going to the moon theory that may sound a little crazy, but might be kind of a fun idea to explore a little bit deeper. Tyler Bakia, what are the odds of us getting new Tears of the Kingdom info before PAX East? I think that we're pretty much guaranteed to get info by mid-April, which is about a month from now. Now, PAX East is March 22nd-ish to the 24th or 5th or 26th, so that's a little different. So will we get information before then? I hope so. I'm hoping there's going to be a Tears of the Kingdom demo at PAX, because I believe I'm going there. Maybe. Probably. I have my plane tickets already booked, so I'm probably going to PAX East. And I have my press passes for it, so I'll be there. I hope there's a Tears of the Kingdom demo. And if there's a Tears of the Kingdom demo, then I think there's got to be some level of information given to us about Tears of the Kingdom before that demo. However, there may not be a Tears of the Kingdom demo, which would be very disappointing. However, what was it? On Monday, we noticed that Nintendo's booth is like deemed Nintendo versus Arcade, and then there's a Pokemon booth right next to it or something. So there's some skepticism that the booth will be dedicated to Tears of the Kingdom demos. So we'll see on that, but there's some skepticism there. But I think I hope we get information sooner. I feel that they should at least announce a Tears of the Kingdom OLED before the end of the month. Yeah, I think that should happen at least. Hello there, Paul Dune. Hello there, Bosch Trompai. Yes, Mario Kart Wave 4 is very good. I've enjoyed it a lot with the little I've played of it so far. But I mean, I have played all the tracks already, and I think it's pretty good. Paul Dunn, this game comes out in 2 months. That's crazy. It's so weird we still don't know a lot, right? It's legit coming out in 2 months. That is insane. DW for Smash, thank you very much for the super chat. Super appreciated there. I send you good vibes, my friend. Thank you. Nintendo Gaming, 2 weekends, and we'll get that Tears of the Kingdom gameplay at PAX. Yeah, I hope so. I really do. Especially because I'm taking the time to actually go there. Bosch Trompai was replying to Paul Dunn, but said, not really. They do this all the time. They only tell you most of the info about the game a month before release. Examples, Animal Crossing, Xenoblade 3, Splatoon 3. Yeah, maybe we get like a big direct on Tears of the Kingdom early April. That's possible. That is possible. Having Hope has renewed their membership. Thank you very much, Having Hope. Thank you, and hello to you as well. Hello there, Zelda Phantom Channel. How you doing? We're not really... I wouldn't say you're late, by the way. We just started like 2 minutes ago, so we're just kind of waiting for people to roll in here. Hello there, DE Fox. How are you? Mad Lad. Nintendo Prime was saying that it's a Nintendo Versus booth, meaning that most likely no Tears of the Kingdom booth. Yeah, we just touched on that. I'm just, I'm very curious what Nintendo Versus means. Like, what is that exactly? I know they've had some competitions in the past. JLo has become a Legends Plus member. Thank you for joining, JLo. It's super, super appreciated. And Rigo Romero has renewed their membership as well. Thank you so much for renewing your membership, Rigo. Super, super appreciated. Hello there, Emilio. Hello there, Debus. How are you? Boss Trompai. Tried getting into Breath of the Wild again, but it's too difficult for me, sadly. Hoping Tears of the Kingdom helps and be a guide a bit. I'm confused on what to do, and it bores me when I'm clueless. That's interesting. Definitely, I definitely think that is a unique perspective, for sure. So, it's interesting because when you play Breath of the Wild, at least for me, playing it, you just kind of, for me, I'm just continuously distracted, like, in a good way. Like, I see something interesting and I go there. I'm like, oh, cool. And then I see something else. Okay, let me try and go there. And I'm constantly bouncing around, figuring out different things, doing different things. And that's what gets me sort of going throughout it. I enjoy it. But, to each their own. What? I put 2.5 hearts? Does that bother you, J.R.R. Tolkien, that I put a screenshot with 2.5 hearts? Let's see. I literally just had my Switch on the background. Look, there you go. 3 hearts. But no, not max stamina though. You won't see that because my head's probably blocking it, I think. Rigo Romero with the super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat, buddy. Aluma talking about death. Hilarious. Yeah. It didn't really dawn on me the irony of Aluma talking about death, because the idea of Lumas can become stars, and then the cycle of stars, they eventually explode, and that gas becomes it gets messy. But there's a cycle there. Debus, you're hoping to convince your girlfriend to start Breath of the Wild before Tears of the Kingdom comes out. Well, you should definitely keep convincing her. Breath of the Wild is a great game, but she might get really distracted by it, so beware. Having hope. Your boyfriend is currently playing through Breath of the Wild, trying to finish before Tears of the Kingdom comes out. Fair. Yeah, I'm going to probably start Breath of the Wild soon again. It would be interesting. I've been debating doing like I'm not totally committed to it yet, but I may experiment with doing a game stream during the weekends. I don't know. Because I really wanted to have like a day where I just sit through Metroid Prime and beat it in one sitting. Like, I think that could be a really cool stream, and I think it would be fun to do Master Mode live with you guys leading up to release for Tears of the Kingdom as well. Maybe beat that in 3 to 4 sittings. So, I mean, me being fully clear though, right? Like, it's just one of those things where it's very time consuming, right? And I don't know how much I like playing games privately, so that there's a little bit of a but that might give me an excuse to finally play through Pikmin 3. Yeah, maybe like after Tears of the Kingdom, I'm considering it. Maybe this weekend I'll do a Metroid Prime playthrough of like the whole game, one sitting, And then after we beat that, maybe we'll start a Breath of the Wild Master Mode run on the weekends. And then, well, you know, if it's something that you guys seem to enjoy and I seem to enjoy, maybe it'll become something consistent. I don't want to make any promises because I, in the past, have not enjoyed streaming games a lot. It's not that I don't. It's just not for an extended period of time. Like I feel bad. I'm like, oh man, I gotta stream for at least 2 hours, and then like in my head, like I just don't want to do that. But maybe if I am able to get all the other projects I need to get done in a reasonable amount of time, I may open things up for a game stream during the weekend. But we'll see on that. I think the other problem is that I don't want to promise a particular time slot, because what if I want to do something with friends or family on the weekend, and then, you know, like, so there's that. Like maybe I could do it, but it will be more of a spur of the moment things. Like how I'll let people know ahead of time, but I won't have a specific time that I'll do it. Maybe that's how it'll be. Like maybe on weekends there will be a frequency in which I stream a game, but it won't be a specific time just because, you know, I have a life. But we'll I'll communicate. Let's see here. Yeah, I Netweed, I really do enjoy the Mario Kart 8 tracks. They are so good. DW for Smash. You've been busy with Prime Remastered. You're at about 75% now. That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I beat it once at 95, and I've had multiple playthroughs. I'm working on a 100% run right now, but I'm also going to do a hard mode run as well. Rick Romero, will you be doing a spoiler cast or review of the movie? Yeah, I will. Maybe both. So I think honestly, I could probably do three different things. So my plan is to watch it as the movie as early as possible, the Mario movie. I believe that's going to be a Tuesday evening. Like I'll go to a midnight showing, and I will then make at least one video. You know, I don't really feel like doing a review. So I think what I'll do, I'll do a review of sorts, but I don't know if I want to do like a spoiler-free review and then a review. Maybe what I'll do is it'll be a review, and then the first part will be spoiler-free, and then I'll do. I still gotta sort that out, but there will be at least one video made talking about it, and I think I'd probably also do like a stream, like say like that Wednesday evening or something, talking about the movie. Yeah, I think I could do that. JR Tolkien, do it, as in Mountain, do it. There you go. There you go. Let's see here. Having Hope 5, will you maybe play some of the Xenoblade 3 DLC story? I mean, I'm 100% going to play that Wave 4 DLC. Well, I plan on playing it privately. But, you know, I'm assuming you're asking if I'm going to, like, stream it. That's where I'm a little uncertain. Again, the game streams, the weekend game streams, we'll see. So, tell you what, I think there's a solid chance I will try the Metroid Prime stream this weekend. Maybe. Just because there's a couple Zelda theories I want to get out, and those can be a little time consuming. But we'll see how the streams go, and if the streams go well, then we can rest assured that whatever is kind of like the big thing in that moment for Nintendo, I'll try doing like a weekend stream at some point for it. Kick It Smooth. I haven't done Master Mode yet. It sounds great since Breath of the Wild's difficulty tanks partway through. Yeah. Yeah, after a certain point, everything just gets really easy. You become OP. Boss Trumpai, your biggest problem with Breath of the Wild is that you hope is gone in Tears of the Kingdom is weapon durability. It's like the first Zelda game you got into, and the way the weapon damage isn't helping. It's your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. The durability, the durability is something that impacts a lot of people's feelings on the game. I'm okay with it, but I do think that if they were to add a way to repair or enhance, including adding durability or elemental powers or just different perks and advantages, that would be something that can kind of remedy that a bit. 10,000 noodles. Just learned my laptop is crusty, doesn't even have Bluetooth support. I have to buy a separate USB adapter. Yeah. I know the feelings. Yeah. You like the weapon durability. You wish there was a way to repair the durability like whetstones in Witcher 3. Or like in Monster Hunter. Yeah, Monster Hunter also has whetstones as well. Deepest. Xenoblade is a game best enjoyed on your own. Yeah, and that's part of my problem with streaming games. It's not that I obviously I enjoy playing the games. It's just I oftentimes prefer playing games privately. So if I were to do a game stream, it would have to be something where I plan on enjoying that game on my own, or I have already. So that's kind of it. Like, so I streamed Metroid Prime a bit, but that was like a second file. Like, I had a whole other file I played through on my own. Let's see here. Zelda Fan Film channel added me. It would be cool if we can play together on a game. I just got new internet and it's working great. I see. Yeah, I haven't really done any, like, co-op streams in a while, so that can get complicated and messy. Harry Myers. So with Switch 2, will games need a patch to reap the benefits of the new console, or will they run and look better right off the bat? One quick moment. There's noise, and I want to deal with that. One moment. I'm back. I was just closing the door. Okay, where was I? So, Harry, you are asking, with Switch 2, will games need a patch to reap the benefits of the new console? Will they run and look better right off the bat? I think in theory it'll be a little bit of both. So any game that has kind of like a dynamic resolution or a rocky frame rate, a system that's running it better will inherently improve those things. But it won't be like, oh, it's automatically going to upscale to 4K and 60 FPS if it's like a 720p game struggling to hit 30 FPS. If you wanted it to go up to higher resolutions and to have a different frame rate target, then that would need to be patched in. And based off the Pokemon leak, it implies that there will be games that will receive graphics enhancement patches. But we don't know for sure. That doesn't mean that you won't still be able to play the game on the system. Now there is a little bit of nuance to this, a little bit more nuance to this though, because while I think we pretty much have, like, based off that leak, if you assume the leak is true, there will likely be graphics enhancement patches, so we will get that element of things where games will be patched to look and run better. But the idea of games just looking and running a little bit better if they have dynamic resolutions or rocky frame rates, that's possible. But the way I understand it, and I may not understand it fully, so please take this with a grain of salt, it may come down to how they're handling the backwards compatibility. Because say, for example, they just take the way they solve backwards compatibility is by taking the chip inside the Switch, the base Switch, the Switch 1, and just shoving it inside the Switch 2 as a second chipset that's purely in there just for backwards compatibility, then it may run the games exactly as the Switch did, because it's going to be booting into Switch mode and running the games in that way. However, if they handle backwards compatibility in a slightly different way, where either like maybe Nvidia comes up like with some special solution where it can actually run the games directly from the new hardware that's more powerful, or emulate it in a way that doesn't cause issues, then what I suggested earlier about them running a little bit better, having slightly sharper resolutions if they have a dynamic resolution, that could happen. But the significant differences would come from graphics enhancement patches. Hopefully that makes sense. JDog103. Do you believe the Switch 2 leaks? Do I believe the Switch 2 leaks? I want to. I want to believe the Switch 2 leaks. I think it, I think it's easy to become like a prisoner of the moment and get caught up in the excitement. And for me, it's personally challenging, right? Because when things like this come up, I make videos about it, right? And then, if I make a video about it, I make an argument about it, I don't want to be wrong. But, as evidence presents itself or as information comes up, I'm going to talk about it and give my take. That said, I'll say that if the Switch 2 leaks are legitimate, I think it does make sense. Like, I think there are a number of things that are happening that support this idea. Mike Odyssey the other day talked about how shareholders, their stock has been going down, and Nintendo may want to do something to bounce back from that. Absolutely, that makes sense. PlayStation 5 sales are really starting to kick Switch in the butt right now, last I heard. So that's also something else Nintendo's probably not okay with. We literally in that CMA assessment with the Microsoft Activision deal court case, they mentioned a Nintendo Switch and redacted for platforms to run Nintendo Switch Online. So there is another platform that they had to redact from the naming in a legal document. That sort of suggests that we are close. Like, Nintendo has something already that they're planning NSO for. They already have that in mind. And I don't know if that means for sure it's coming out this year, but it does mean that there's something in the works, like behind the scenes. Like, there absolutely is, and there always is. But I feel like it lends some credence to the idea that it's taking form. Like, they have some plans put together already. They understand a lot of things about this system behind the scenes. They're past just kind of like concepting here. I think even if it doesn't come out this year, like, they're getting ready to put the system out there. They are working on a strategy for this. So you got that. And I do think that right now we are in a unique situation when it comes to our knowledge of Nintendo content for the rest of the year. Because typically when we get that earlier direct, they do more to give us a better understanding of what's to come beyond in the second half. And we only have one game with a release date for the second half of this year, and that's Pikmin 4. And I find that to be very strange. It is out of the ordinary. It's unusual compared to prior years. Now, there's some considerations to be made there. So we have a lot of DLC that we know about, and they have target release dates that fall in the second half. So it isn't like there's nothing beyond just Pikmin 4. That's not quite the case. But in terms of actual releases, physical releases, major releases, it is just Pikmin 4. So that it's interesting. It's interesting how that is. It does lead me to believe that Nintendo is going to have to make a series of announcements really soon, within, sometime by the earliest to midsummer. They're going to have to make a series of announcements to, tell us what we need to know about the content that's coming for the second half. So yeah, I think that is also something else that kind of makes me consider what may be going on. And there's another element here. Even if you don't believe the Pokemon leak, which I'm honestly I am inclined to believe the leak, but that doesn't, even if the leak is true, that doesn't mean that there will be a Switch 2 this year. There's a lot of, it could be an inaccurate report. Plans can change. There's a number of things, but we do know that Pokemon Company has announced that the second DLC, the second wave, is coming out winter 2023, and it has a deadline of April 2024. That's later than expected. Sword and Shield, the way they handled their 2 waves was a summer release and a holiday release. Now they're doing a holiday release and an early year release for next year, it looks like. So that's a little different. They're pushing it up a bit, which I think is a great thing. I think they should take their time. But it also leads me to speculate why that is. It kind of fits. Getting out the first Pokemon wave in line with the next system, and then having a graphics patch in line with the second DLC early next year, like that does kind of make some sense. So there are some things going on that support the idea, but none of it confirms that, right? Like none of it does. I'll say there's another interesting thing going on here, and that's Metroid Prime Remastered being shadow dropped the way it did. It implies that Nintendo is gearing up for a Metroid Prime 4 reveal. And if they're going to showcase Metroid Prime 4 now this year, does that mean they're going to use new hardware to showcase that? I still think Prime 4 is coming out for Switch, but I think there's a really good chance it's cross-gen. So that's another kind of consideration that I have with that. And then the other one is, well, if there is a new Switch coming out at the end of this year, the launch title, and I'm like 90+% on this, would be a 3D Mario game. So that would make tons of sense to happen this holiday, because they could capitalize off the popularity of the Mario movie and also the Mario Kart DLC. They can do some cross-promotional stuff with that as well. They wait till next year. I'm sure there'll still be some level of a boost with that, but I do think that there will be more of a significant prominence to that boost, it being this year, especially because apparently the digital release for the Mario movie, like once it's out of theaters, it's set to come out this holiday. So there could be a second boost of that Mario movie popularity, which would also have a compounded effect with a theoretical new Mario game launching alongside a new system. So when you think about all that, like, it makes sense. But do they have to come out with a Mario game with a new system this year? No, they don't have to. Does Nintendo need to make sure they do better than PS5 sales this year and make their shareholders happy? They don't have to. And even they should, but they may try to do it in other ways, which, it may mean that this year would be a down year for Nintendo. And maybe they're not okay with that, but maybe it's all about preparation for next year. Like, these are considerations. And even if they reveal Prime 4 this year, that still doesn't mean a Switch will come out the year after. And the Pokemon thing, it could just be because they're trying to take their time with it. Now, the leak itself, I'm inclined to believe it. So, I don't know. I'm waiting for more of a case to be built here for Switch 2 this year. And I'm going to talk about it for sure. I'm going to entertain the idea, but it can still go either way. So put me down as a 50-50. That whole tangent was me saying I'm 50-50 on it. Because sometimes it could be like a yo-yo. Like, 1 week we'll hear things like, oh, it's coming this year, and the next week it'll be, nope, it's not, and then the week after it'll be, yep, it is. And so we'll see. If August passes and nothing's announced, then I'll be like, yeah, it's probably next year. All right, look, I'm trying to find where I was at in the chat. Oh, okay, I found it. All right, great. Jared Bautista, will you create more theories on the art book leaks? No. There will be more theories, and my goal is to make theories that I think are valid and valuable, that you will enjoy. But I promise that I would have one video that comprehensively covers all the significant elements of that art book leak, because I don't want to risk alienating anyone else. So anyone else watching any of my videos who doesn't want to see those leaks, you can rest assured nothing else will pop up in any other video. And if it is mentioned, there will absolutely be a spoiler warning. But I also don't really think there's any need to make another video on it. I think most of the concepts were covered. Now, could the evidence that's in the art book leak back up other theory videos? It could. But I guess the point I'm making here is that any theory video that I'm making from this point on, I'm only using evidence that's publicly shown. And I will showcase that in the videos. And you know, I'm not. There's a lot. There's a lot of theory videos that are still to come. I'll tell you that the next. I haven't even really gotten a chance to really focus on just kind of like Zelda's role in the game. So you know, I definitely want to dive deeper into that because I think there's a lot of material there. Hello there, Joy CJ. Thank you for modding. Brian and White Atomy. I'm playing Prime Remaster for the first time. Just got Wave Beam. Loving everything. Any tips? Should I make my first playthrough 100% scans and items run? If I do that, I might not want to replay it. With time is always an issue. Yeah. Excuse me. I don't know about the hunt. I mean, that's up to you. I think maybe it's like a game time decision. For me, when I'm playing, if I see something, I want to try and collect it. You know, I do what I can. But, you know, like, for example, my first run, I beat it at 95% because there was a couple things I missed. And the other thing is that it's possible that if you're trying to go for a 100% run, there's a few scans in the game that if you skip it, if you miss it, you can't go back, right? So there's a couple things inside the Space Frigate, the opening of the game, that you have to scan. If you don't, you can't get 100%. And there's a few enemy scans that disappear if you miss your chance. So, for example, when you fight the giant plant boss, Flagra, you have to scan each boss. So that if you beat the boss before scanning, that's a problem. But Flagra actually has two scans. You have its main body, and then you have these spiky vines where you enter with a morph ball. So just keep in mind, when you fight Flagra, there's two scans. And then in Phendrena, there are these shriek bats that fly at you, and you'll see them in different parts of the game, but there's ice variants that are in Phendrena Drifts, and after a certain point, they disappear as well. You want to make sure you scan those too, because if you skip that you won't be able to get it back after a certain point. I think it's, if you get the thermal visor, they're gone. So make sure you scan those shriek bats before you get the thermal visor. So I guess that's some tips if you're going for 100%. A recent tip that I learned the other day from you guys streaming is that you can shoot missiles really quickly if you press your power beam, only in your power beam mode, the basic beam, and your missiles interchangeably really quickly. Like if let's say you have it set it to X, or you would do XA, 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 or RA, 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 depending on how your setup is. Then you shoot missiles a lot more quickly and you can get a lot more damage out. So, I mean, I guess that's a tip. There you go. AB James. So it seems there's no lava flow in the Elden region in Tears of the Kingdom. I wonder why. Maybe there's some kind of story beat that allows a mouse to dissipate from Death Mountain and we can enter the crater. Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, there's definitely something going on there. I don't think it's just, oh, there's Malice, can't do anything there. I think I think there's got to be something to exploring that mountain. What happened to the lava? It's actually really interesting because if you think about how a volcano would work, that lava, that heat, it's molten rock that's coming from the core of the planet. So that suggests it's coming from deep underground, and the malice is erupting from it instead. So the implications there is that there's just so much malice that's just coursing through the underground that's overtaken the lava flow. And that's just a very interesting concept. Now, with that in mind, how does Link get in there, right? Like, that is an interesting consideration. And maybe it has to do with Zelda. So, we've touched on this before, right? And this may go into my eventual Zelda-focused video. But maybe Zelda does help you explore the map. Maybe there's Sheikah technology underground that she can use with her Sheikah Slate to perhaps control the malice flows. And maybe you can even play as Zelda for brief periods of time and use her Sheikah technology to get through certain environments. So basically, it would be a way to bring back the Sheikah Slate, but you would use it with Zelda in smaller capacities. And you could switch between her seamlessly, kind of like when you're playing the Wind Waker. In the Wind Waker, you can play as Komali or Maker for specific dungeons. So maybe you could control Zelda, or even if you don't control Zelda, maybe Zelda is somehow responsible for exploring the underground, and maybe there is a divine beast underground that can perhaps control the lava flow. Or maybe there's Sheikah technology underground that can stop the malice flow, because we know the Sheikah technology is from the underground, and it's all disappeared for some reason. So maybe it's gone underground as a response to the threat of the malice, and Zelda can find ways to get to them and control them. So that's just something to consider, and it would be really interesting if you think of it in that way, because it actually sort of. It goes back to the theory I made on last Sunday, the Ouroboros theory. So it's not really an Ouroboros theory, but it's a theory on the logo. And the logo is that it's not just my theory is that it's not just an Ouroboros. It's two dragons going up and down, up and below. I think it's meant to kind of symbolize the structure of the game, how you're going up and down, hence that rotation of these two dragons. And one dragon, Naydra, another dragon, Farosh, perhaps representing Link and Zelda, because Farosh represents the Triforce of Courage, which used to be housed by Link, Naydra, Triforce of Wisdom, which used to be housed by Zelda. So there could be more of this idea of the cyclical nature of exploring the world, going up to the skies, where we see dragons, and to the below. And we've seen Link have this prevalence in the sky, and we've seen Zelda fall underground. So maybe some exploration underground is going to be handled by Zelda. I'm a little divided on the idea just because I don't love the concept of not having a fully open world that I can explore entirely with Link. But I don't know. Maybe eventually you can, but you can't at first because it's all blocked by malice. It's thick, dense malice, and your communication with Zelda, she's controlled for certain portions where she has to open up these malice open up pathways to the underground that are being blocked by this crazy malice flow. So there could be something to that idea, sort of supporting this connection between Link and Zelda above and below, working together in unison. And over time, it'll open up and you will be able to explore those areas. And maybe that does lead to you getting into a fire temple inside Death Mountain once that malice flow has been closed off. Moving through the chat here. Lucky616. Is there 100% going to be a Switch 2? We don't know if it's going to be called a Switch 2, and we don't know when it's coming out, but there will 100% be a new system. It's just a question of when. It's not an if. And the likelihood that Nintendo's going to follow up the Switch with a successor that's similar is extremely high, because the Switch is their most successful system yet. It would be foolish to do otherwise. You have to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they're going to keep it up. Now, they may also try to find a way to improve upon it, or do something so they don't lose momentum. So their next system may mix it up a little bit, but it's gonna have the core Switch concept. I can tell you that with a high degree of confidence, but nothing's 100%. Demus, I hope weapon durability comes back in Tears of the Kingdom. Without, there's no incentive to explore and look for chests when your weapon never needs to be replaced. That is something about the durability. It does help the flow of the gameplay. So if they get rid of the weapon durability, then you're just gonna have this huge stockpile of weaponry, and when you get a new weapon, there's not gonna be much reward there. So it is interesting. Like, some people complain about the durability, but it helps the flow of the gameplay. So they would have to consider how that impacts the reward, and I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're considering how that impacts the overall flow. So they do offer up more durability options. They just have to keep that balance in mind. I see I have a super chat here from Brian Doe. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat, Brian. Super appreciated. Brian says, I don't think this is real, but Zelda should be playable as DLC. Give the Sheikah Slate with the rune abilities. This would be easy and a good value. I really do feel like there's a great chance that Zelda is playable with a Sheikah Slate, not even with DLC. This might be the video tomorrow. Just hint. Going more into detail on Zelda's role. Just the way they show off that Sheikah Slate, it leads me to think that. NetWeedo9, the whole point is you explore the actual upgrades and goodies loot for perma upgrades, just like traditional Zelda games. Permanent upgrades are fine. They just need to have a way that there's always something worthwhile when you find the chest or something. They just have to think of a good system of rewarding you that makes it feel that makes the exploration more worth it. Giancarlo, did you see there's a Luma in the Mario movie? Rosalina confirmed. Yeah, that was an interesting looking Luma. Had a personality to it that was unexpected too. Rosalina confirmed. Rosalina's existence highly suggested. Yeah. Now, and what's interesting about that is I don't know if Rosalina will be in the movie. It's only a 90-minute movie, guys. Like, there's only so much they can fit in there without it just being a mess. But, and they want to leave themselves open for a sequel. So, maybe the next game goes to space. The same way Tears of the Kingdom is going to space, maybe. Just kidding. Or am I? All right. Yeah, I mean, maybe I should talk about this moon theory now. Eons. If we go to the moon in Tears of the Kingdom, do you think it will be reminiscent of the moon in Mario Odyssey, but with Ganon on a temple on the moon with Zelda? All right. I want to find. I saw something the other day depicting. It may have just been from One Piece. I don't know. But I want to see if there is some sort of folklore or legend of people worshiping the skies. Perhaps some sort of insinuation that they came from the moon, and live in Sky Islands. I'm not sure on that. I do know that, or I know is a strong word. I do feel that the Sheikah, I get an Ancient Aliens vibe from them. And we've seen constellations in some of their structures. And there are some of the ruins in Breath of the Wild kind of remind me of the Mayans and the Aztecs. And they paid close attention to the stars above. So I do kind of speculate if there could be some connection there. But, you know, Sheikah aren't Zonai. So we'll see on that. But, you know, Majora's Mask, the moon was heavily involved in that game. That was a dark game. This is a dark game, and the moon is heavily involved as well. Now, and the moon seems to be a source of strength, right? So maybe they need to do something about the moon to have a chance against Ganon. And you know what's interesting about this? You think about the moon. In real life, the moon affects the tide. So, you know, maybe this could also tie into some gameplay involving the waters of the world. Like, what if there's a part of the game, a section of the game where everything gets flooded because of the proximity of the moon to the planet? How cool would that be? That would be really interesting, actually. If there are parts of the game where it can get flooded, think about that for a second. I'm kind of like, I'm on a roll right now. So what if the proximity of the moon varies, and depending on how close the moon is, that can cause a flood? It's basically a new weather effect, and so it would change the map dramatically, temporarily, but it would cause a shift, and that could be really cool. It also could be really annoying. So. There's that to consider too. So maybe they wouldn't do that, but it's just kind of something I just thought of right here on the spot. But anyway, I think there's something to the idea of maybe Link getting really, really high into the sky, right? Because we see a lot of structures that go way above what we can see, and we're already far higher than anything in Breath of the Wild. How high do you go? Like, what is the limit there? And with this huge emphasis on the moon, what if there's something to that? Now, I'm not saying Link's going to put on an astronaut suit and fly through Earth's orbit, but maybe there is, like, a point that you get to in the sky where it no longer looks like a normal sky that's blue with clouds or what have you, and it starts to look a little space-like, and it gets very cold, and maybe they even bring up that you're short on oxygen or something. Like, maybe they could say that. Maybe they could say, like, maybe, like, your stamina runs out quicker the higher up you are because there's less oxygen in the air at that point. But there is, and basically, what I'm getting at here is the higher you go, the harder it is to explore and move around. But there is a point you can get to that perhaps is a channel or a teleport to, the moon, and maybe there is like a shrine or something on the moon that's like a special holy or sacred place that will be some sort of event. Or maybe that is where Ganon is. Maybe that is like the core of Ganon's strength, which might seem odd, but you know, Zelda does some weird quirky things. Is it really that much of a stretch? Breath of the Wild has, like, there's footage showing a UFO attacking Link. Like, there was test footage of that. Like, they were playing around with UFO and alien concepts. And I mentioned the constellations, the Sheikah technology before, and how it's very Ancient Aliens-like. But even in Majora's Mask, there were alien abductions. There were alien abductions, and there was a big emphasis on the moon. And this is supposed to be a game that's very dark, and people have drawn comparisons to Majora's Mask. Now, that's a very loose connection. But I think there could be something there. It would be it would definitely be something like where you have to teleport to another area. I doubt that the moon itself would be somewhere you can just kind of fly up high enough and all of a sudden the gravity sucks you in and you can walk on the moon, right? Like, that would be insane. But that's I strongly doubt that the map is that big. And also, how do you explain being in space and not being able to breathe? Like, that would, I mean, it's a video game, you can do a lot, but that part, you know, that's where my suspension of disbelief starts to wear away, right? But I do think that maybe we can get really high, and potentially the moon will have at least something to do with the story because of how potent it seems, and it seems like a source of strength for Ganon's forces. Just moving through a chat here. Eons. You're still wondering about the suspicious pattern on Link's hair braid that looked like the flag of a particular country. Hair braid? What hair braid? I don't know what hair braid you're referring to. Here, let me show you this. I don't see any hair braid. I'm trying to pull up an image of Link. Oh, that's what I named the file. That's why I couldn't find it. Okay. I don't know what image I should be pulling up to show this, but like here, so pop it on screen. All right, I guess not. Okay, it won't let me. That's not the one I intended. I was trying to put something else. No. Maybe let me put it here. For some reason, it's just actually blocking me from adding images for some reason. But yeah, Link doesn't have a braid though. He has just his hair, and he has a blue tie. Maybe I could show you the image this way. I don't know why it's not letting me share. Let's see, will this... There we go. You guys should be able to see this. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you'll see it in a moment. See, this is... My preview's not live. You should be able to see this, but anyways, like, there's no... I don't see any hair braid. Like, it's just his hair, it's loose, and he's got a blue earring. So I just don't... I don't know what art you'd be talking about. And then, I mean, there's this right here. That's his normal look, and there's no braid. There's just... He has a blue hair tie. There's nothing else to it, unless I'm missing something. Let me come back. Actually, one more thing. Let me show you. Let me show you this real quick. It's just something that's cool to look at. There we go. So, I mean, I'm gonna show you Zelda here. Like, they put a lot of effort into her. Like, when they released this image, that definitely gets me skeptical of her availability in this game. I think she's got to be available in this game. Also, the reason why we probably didn't see the Sheikah Slate in the first trailer is because she had this little piece right here inside this bag. Like, it kind of looks like it fits perfectly. Also, it's been redesigned. So, I think she's gonna be playable, sort of. I don't know. Again, I'm not 100% on it, but I think there's more to Zelda than what they've let on. Yeah. Let's see, moving through the chat here. Netweed. The thing with Tears is that it seems there's simply a ton more confident than Breath. More to do, and the green hand serves as a glue, so that's incentive. Breath just threw down crude survival. Something that's interesting about that glue thing, like the crafting, there could be a lot there. We do see a hot air balloon. How high can Link go? That's what I really want to find out. I really want to find out how high can Link go. Because if we can create hot air balloons, there are islands so far high up. There's this emphasis on the moon. Like, I am extremely curious. Like, maybe one of the first things I'm going to do in Tears of the Kingdom is just straight up see how high you can go. Like, that's one of the first things I want to find out. Giancarlo. 7 dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom, with the final 8 dungeon be a mouse-infested moon. As a throwback to the Moon of Majora's Mask, you recall Majora's Mask final dungeon was in that creepy moon. So I honestly love the idea, because I don't want to go to Hyrule Castle again. I think it would be kind of lame to just fight Ganondorf in the castle. I think we assumed that he was going into the castle, and that's why it went into the air. And maybe that's where it is, but you know, it looks pretty accessible to me. That's something else. Like, yes, there's malice like erupting around it, but it looks like if you are high enough, you can just kind of dive down and land on it. So I wonder, either A, does the malice block you out? Like, does it kind of like cover it, you know, so you can't actually get into it, because that's where Ganondorf is hiding and they don't want you to just straight up get in there like that, like it's super easy? Or could it be that, yeah, you can go there and there's probably gonna be some tough enemies, maybe a lot of malice things, and then maybe some things will be destroyed and they'll be changed around somewhat so you can kind of enjoy that. There's some good treasure there, but that is not where Ganondorf is. Maybe Ganondorf is deep underground, or maybe he's in the moon. Like, that would be interesting. I mean, I don't know how he gets to the moon, but, you know, what if? It would be cool. It doesn't have to be the moon, but wherever he is, I feel like there's got to be something to challenge you to get there, right? And Hyrule Castle does not look that challenging to get to. So what if he does go to the moon? I don't know. Like, what if there's a portal there or something? Seems unlikely. I'm not sure. It's a mystery, right? Like, we're not sure what Ganondorf does right after that attack. Like, what does he do? He has an influence on the moon. Well, okay, actually, here's an idea. This is me kind of like really going in on the moon idea, even though, you know, I have my doubts. What if, like, you know how aliens have those like lights that summon you upwards? As stupid as this may sound, what if that's what happens to Ganondorf and that's how he gets to the moon? I know, it's dumb, but Ganondorf teaming up with aliens would be kind of fun. It would be kind of fun, and there were alien concepts that they were playing around with Breath of the Wild before release. And we've seen a lot of concepts that they were playing around with beforehand in Breath of the Wild end up in Tears of the Kingdom. So, as crazy it may sound, maybe there's something to this idea. And as they describe it, it may not make sense, but when you see how the Zelda team actually puts it together, you'll be like, huh, that fits, you know? So maybe there's more, you know, there's something more to this idea. Maybe. I do like the idea of the moon being the final dungeon, though. I see I have a super chat from Samuel A. Hold on a second. This weird thing going on here. Can't see. Sorry. It wasn't letting me read. Samuel A. Still, let me read. Okay, thank you for super chat, Samuel. I couldn't read it for a moment. Now I can. Hey, Andres, what did I miss? Also, thoughts on the possibility of an open-air spiritual sequel to Twilight Princess for the next Zelda? What did you miss? I mean, we've just been chatting, talking about different things, you know. I think Ganondorf is going to get abducted by aliens, apparently. What I think about the possibility of an open-air spiritual sequel to Twilight Princess. I wouldn't have worded it in that way, but if you mean something like that tech demo we had for Wii U that was basically using the Twilight Princess art style but with massively improved graphics, but those graphics in an open world setting with the open air mechanics of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but advanced further, that would be amazing. I'm not sure if everyone has seen it. I wonder if I have an image saved on my computer. Probably not. I don't know. Well, maybe. I have a trailer, but I just don't have an image. I want to show you guys like an image. There's like a really good one. A really good image. It kind of just shows how amazing it looks. It's a good image. It's not high res. Yeah, I'm trying to find like a high res version. Can't find it. I'm sure most of you have seen what I'm talking about already, though. Well, we'll do HD wallpaper. I bet something good will pop up. I don't want to show you like a little square. That's still not that good. Yeah, none of these look good. Anyway, I'll just pop up the image so you can see what I'm referring to. Yeah, this is not the best image. Oh, who am I kidding? I have it. I could just show you an HD image here. I have it. Of course, I have to find it. No, I'm just trying to show you this. It's fine. It's not amazing, but it's a good reference point. Yeah, it's fine. This is just a zoomed in shot of it. That. Like, it would be really cool if a game, I mean, when it's zoomed in like that, maybe it doesn't look that good, but the spider boss still looks pretty good. I would love for a game to use that art style, sure. Like, I mean, not exactly that, but something in the vein of this, but on a large open air scale would be really cool. I mean, looking at it up close, right? Like, you can kind of tell there are definitely things about this that could be that already Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom look better than. Like, the Link model doesn't look that amazing from behind here. Looks kind of like a Smash Bros model, actually. Going back to the chat. There we are. Let's see, where was I? Okay. Game walkthroughs. Do you think we will see returning characters such as Beetle in Tears of the Kingdom? I don't see why Beetle would die. He was already in Breath of the Wild, right? So I think Beetle makes a lot of sense to come back. It would be strange if he was just not there. But I also want to go a step further and say characters we haven't seen before in Breath of the Wild, but returning from other games would be cool. Like, what if we saw Tingle? Bring Tingle back. Tingle would be awesome. I'm trying to think of, are there any other characters that I kind of missed that are recurring? Can't think of any. Tingle's like the big one. What will be interesting is that there are fairies, but there are no. It will be interesting if we discover more great fairies, like if there's a great fairy queen, because there was a queen of the fairies, in the Wind Waker. It would be interesting to meet her, because there's 4. I think there's 4 great fairies in Breath of the Wild. So if they were to show another one, that'd be cool. I mean, imagine if there's like a fairy realm. What if you can kind of go there? That would be interesting to see. Alrighty. Anonymous. I'm not so sure Prime 4 will be on Switch at all. It would be a great game to have next gen only, in your opinion. Let's see here. You also said Metroid Prime Remaster was released for Switch now. Shall drop probably because Prime 4 is not coming to Switch. Is your hunch? No. I mean, I personally don't really agree. I think that because they announced Metroid Prime 4 for Switch, I think the audience for Switch is so large, they would be losing out on a lot of potential sales and potential buyers of Prime 4 by only having it for the next system. And also, I think Prime Remaster should go to show that they can make Prime 4 look and run really good. Prime Remaster is kind of like the baseline. Prime 4 on Switch will look and run better than Prime Remastered. And even if it only looks as good as Prime Remastered, that's still fine. That would still be one of the best looking games on Switch. So I don't think that they need to do that. That said, I will gladly enjoy the game in 4K, maybe with less pop-in or better draw distance on Switch 2. Like, that doesn't mean they can't have a Switch 2 version that doesn't look even better, right? What if it adds HDR, right? High dynamic range. There are things they can do that can make the Switch 2 version look really good, and it be worth the upgrade, but also still have base Prime 4 look amazing for the Switch. And I think that would be the best way to go about it, because you want to take advantage of those sales, especially after promising Prime 4 for Switch owners. It's still considered a Switch title. So I don't think they're going to unannounce it for Switch, just for Switch 2. I'm not sure. Netweed, I'm reading your chat here. I'm not sure what you mean by spoilers. I mean, we know there's the Gleeok. I guess. Yeah. I mean, there's Gleeoks. I mean, there's a Gleeok. I think, considering that there's a Gleeok that in the original Zelda that doesn't have fire, and the Gleeok we see in Tears of the Kingdom has fire. I don't think it's that much of a logical leap to think that there could be other Gleeoks, maybe with different elements involved with them, because that's something we've seen already. So, yeah, I wouldn't really. That's just a good prediction. Congo, have you seen Rotadoskur's, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I've seen his channel before on Commonwealth Realms podcast about Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't. But you say here, a lot of trees in the podcast and think we need to expect more from Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, I think Tears of the Kingdom is going to be big. I think something that we may kind of not consider too much is that while Nintendo has been very quiet about this game, and we haven't gotten like a Breath of the Wild Great Plateau moment. I think they're actually treating these games a little bit more similarly than we realize, because there was actually a lot we did not know about Breath of the Wild until the game came out. There was a lot there that was a complete surprise until we actually got around to playing the game when it came out. Like, we didn't know about the dragons. You know, there was a lot of mystery there. We didn't know about any of the boss. Like, most of the Lynels were a surprise. Like, we knew what they showed us in the Great Plateau, and like two or three trailers. Like, that was it. Now, those trailers are bigger, and they did a great job of exciting us. But yeah, that was it. What I want for Tears of the Kingdom, I don't need them to detail every enemy, every weapon. I don't need that. But I do want to see the game in action. I do want to see a demo. And I would like at least a few minutes describing something about the game. Like, just explaining the circumstances a little bit, as opposed to saying, hey, you're exploring the sky. Like 2 to 3 minutes of Aonuma just talking about a few different elements in the game, in terms of they're just kind of give us an idea of the overall concept, and then show us the opening segment, kind of like they did with Breath of the Wild. That's really all I want them to do, and I think that can conceivably happen in a direct. I don't know. They are handling it a little bit differently than Breath of the Wild, but the ultimate point I'm trying to make here is that we didn't know that much about Breath of the Wild by the time it released, and there was a lot of surprises there, and we were blown away. They have not shown that much about Tears of the Kingdom, but that does not mean there isn't a lot there. I think there's probably going to be even more than Breath of the Wild, to your point. So we have a lot to be excited about for that game. Let's see here. Jean-Carl Adamy. Can we expect Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom at PAX East? Nintendo only seems to be doing Nintendo Versus on the event. I honestly don't know. I need to do... I've been wanting to kind of do more research on it, so I'm not sure. Zelda's Geek Apprentice. Thank you for the super chat. Zelda's Geek Apprentice says, love the 2 Zelda frame posters. Really nice. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I was thinking 2 posters, but yeah, one is Xenoblade, and then there's the Wind Waker one, and then I have the Breath of the Wild one right above the TV. Yeah. Let's see here. Moving through. I'm just kind of scrolling through the chat here. I am doing well. Thanks for asking. Your name is in a text I don't understand, but thank you. Hello, the Super Chris. Joycey J. Do I want all Nintendo games in space? Let's think about it. Star Fox, Pikmin, Mario, and you got Galaxy. Link goes to the moon. Let's see. Xenoblade. I mean, you got mechs and they orbit space, and yeah. I mean, Xenoblade 2. Xenoblade 2. You go to space. Xenoblade 1 kind of ends in space too, or something like it. Yeah, maybe I do. Pokemon, there's Rayquaza, Deoxys, they go to space. Yeah, space is the final frontier. Yes, Netweed, that's correct. Pokemon Snap, the final battle or challenge against Mew was in a space-like environment. That's correct. Yeah, Anonymous. Next gen 4K Star Fox would be perfect. Oh my gosh. Devis, I think a broken weapon should take up a weapon slot, and you should have to weigh out whether you want to replace it while exploring or hold on to repair it at a smithing location. Let me reread that. You should take up a weapon slot and should have to weigh out whether you want to replace it While exploring, or hold on to repair it at a smithing shop. Yeah, maybe there's something there to kind of balance that out, because it takes up a slot, but if you want to keep it, you can eventually if you take it to a smith. Automatic 1, 2, 3. Question, and I do not mean to present this in a negative way because I am pumped for Tears of the Kingdom. We've been looking at the same Zelda game since 2011. That's 12 years. Is that disappointing? We haven't. So Skyward Sword released in 2011. The initial trailer for Breath of the Wild came out in 2014, I believe. Zelda U trailer 2014. Yes. So the initial trailer where they showed off Link running on that sprawling green hill with the farmers, and the initial shot of the Guardian, and where they blow up the bridge and Link comes out, rips off his hood and shoots an arrow at it. That trailer came out June 2014. So it has not been since 2011. In terms of, and also Tears of the Kingdom is a different game. But I understand the point of they've been working with this art style since 2014. Interestingly, Mario Kart 8 also came out in 2014, and we're still playing that now. So it's an interesting thought. It's not disappointing, but I am ready for the Zelda team to move on to the next Zelda project after Tears of the Kingdom. I want them to go for a new art style. I want them to, mix it up for sure. Yeah. I'm curious where they'll go after this. I speculate that maybe it's not Hyrule, or if it is, it's a completely different take on Hyrule. Like how that be? We'll probably have to wait like 5 or 6 years. So, I've told you guys already. Yeah, I have a theory that we're gonna get a Zelda remake between Tears of the Kingdom and the next new Zelda, and I think that remake is gonna be a for Ocarina of Time, and it's gonna look really good. Let's see here. Just looking through the chat. Alrighty. Hello there, Mike Odyssey. How are you? Mike, the first comment I see from you is, I need to marry this woman. And I'm like, what woman are you talking about? I thought you were already a married man. Ah, now I see. I see your earlier comment. My crazy moon theory? Yeah, it's crazy, alright, but you might be surprised with what actually happens in the game. Hello there, ASAP World. How are you? Do you prefer I say IZR3 Lite? I'm doing well, though. Celtic Fortune, Andres and the boys. Xenoblade 3 and Splatoon 3 Direct was around exactly 1 month before release. Nintendo's very patient. Probably safe to say Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Direct in April. OLED could be sooner. Yeah. The Tears of the Kingdom Direct early April would fit the pattern. I've only speculated that maybe we get a Direct beforehand, only because we might have a playable demo for Tears of the Kingdom at PAX. But if there's not a playable demo of Tears of the Kingdom at PAX, then I think probably a Direct would happen early April, or something to show off the game in detail. Debus, what if the castle holds some way to get to the moon from their only similar to Prison Island to space, like Monolith Soft has done before. Yeah, like it's like a portal. Like you're not flying through space literally, but there is a battle that takes place on the moon. I mean, Mario Odyssey goes to the moon, Majora's Mask goes to the moon, and you could, I mean, Majora's Mask obviously has it's the title, right? Like Majora's Mask. I mean, it's not in the title. The moon's not in the title, but it's in the start screen. The moon. So the moon's definitely a big deal for that game. So it makes sense for the final fight to happen there. Mario Odyssey, it's kind of teased subtly throughout. Mike, Ganon is already in the castle from the past game, and it only goes up like 100 feet. I don't know about that. I think Ganondorf might be elsewhere, because they would have to change the castle dramatically. It would be boring to just fight him in the exact same place you fought him in the previous game. There's gonna be some change. Like what if? Okay, all right, here we go. You're right. We do fight Ganondorf in the castle, but there's Malice blocking you. You clear out the Malice, you get to him, and then the castle shoots up into space, and you fight him on the moon, and Hyrule Castle blows up. That'll be an ending. Giancarlo, since Tears of the Kingdom features Gleeok possibly as overworld bosses, could we expect all the original Legend of Zelda bosses return in the game? Maybe. I would love to see more original Zelda bosses return. I'm all about that. Do it. Bring them back. I think we're gonna see more enemies. We have not seen them all yet. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. They've only shown us a small piece to the game. With Breath of the Wild, they only showed us a small piece, and when we actually got to play in the game, there was a lot to surprise us. There's gonna be a lot surprising us when we finally play Tears of the Kingdom. Metagaming. Imagine Lynel's that can fly. Okay, I'm gonna stop now. But what if? What if Lynel's could fly? So, all right. So, let me show you guys something. I'm going to YouTube. And I'm going to show you guys the Tears of the Kingdom trailer. Something you need to see. Actually, why should I go to YouTube when I can just go to my editor? Because it'll crash. That's a good reason. All right, sorry. It's okay, here we go. Let me show you guys something. One moment. Okay. I don't like annotations. They get in the way. Okay. We don't need music. There is a part in the trailer when the Malice... Pay attention. I don't want subtitles. Dismiss. There, wait, there it is. There it is. So this... I talked about this in my trailer analysis when it came out, but I believe this is a Lynel. Oh, it's totally a Lynel. Alright. Alright. So, we got Malice, right? There's Malice outpouring, right? And it's hitting different enemies. Pay attention here. 1, 2, 3, 4 legs maybe, like a horse. But then as we see upwards, is that an arm right there? This is about the height and proportions of a Lynel. You see it? What if this Lynel's getting powered up by this Malice attack, and he is just transforming into a beast that we do not want to deal with? We're gonna be terrified of it. But he becomes like, so if I go back a little bit, frame by frame, yeah, like this, it's these first frames where it looks very, you can even see like a tail there. Like it looks very Lynel-like, I would say. Now, obviously, you know, there's a lot making it unclear. It's not 100%, But there's obviously something in there. They're teasing something with this. This is not nothing. It's just a question of what is it that they're teasing here. I think it's a Lionel power-up. I think it's in the shape of a Lionel. And this Malice powering up, what if it's getting wings? What if it flies in the sky? We're gonna need to fight sky enemies. There's gonna be sky enemies. If there's a huge focus on the sky, there's gonna be a lot up there for us to deal with. Maybe Lionels with wings, which would be sick. Remember those patents where we had Link with those different actions he could do in the air? He's gonna need those attacks with Lionels. They're circulating about, what, you know, getting ready to charge, and like, oh snap, what am I gonna do? You're gonna have to be able to navigate as you're flying down. You gotta be able to aim your arrow attacks, stun them, and somehow, you know, fight them while they're trying to murder you. And maybe like the fights can start into the air, but you both can crash into the ground, and then the fight will conclude there on the surface. That would be neat. I honestly think that we could see flying Lionels. I believe that. Netweed. The Lionels were done to serve perfectly in Breath of the Wild is beyond belief. I was jealous, but not anymore, because they're in tears with Gleeok now as well. Yeah, the Gleeok looks super intimidating. I imagine the Gleeok is going to be a bigger deal than a Hinox or a Molduga. There's going to be some cool stuff. There's even like that one part in the desert where we see a lot of like sand like popping up. What is that? Zelda's Geek Apprentice with another super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat. Who could be mid-game boss fight under Ganon? So I'm just thinking on back to different like mid, like, you know, yeah, like mini bosses, right? Like the middle boss before you get to the final boss for the Ganon dungeons. So in Wind Waker, it's fresh. Wind Waker's is fresh in my mind. You fight Shadow Ganon, and you also fight Ganon's puppet, and Ganon's puppet's enormous. Wind Waker has some cool fights there, but its final boss is just one phase. Meanwhile, Twilight Princess, there's no cool boss. You fight a few Dark Nuts. You fight the Moblin leader. And then you fight Ganon. But Ganon has 3 different stages, which is 4 stages, which is crazy. So there's when he takes over Zelda, he possesses Zelda. When he turns to Dark Beast Ganon, then the horse battle fight, the horseback fight, and then the final duel, sword, which is, it's a very cool sequence of events. But there's not really like an epic mid-game boss fight, but the final 4 stages are really cool. Skyward Sword, you fight Girahim before you fight Demise. And Girahim was a pretty cool fight because you feel rushed to get down to him because you feel like Zelda's losing her life the whole time. And it's a pretty cool sword fight. Like, it's solid. Ocarina of Time, I don't remember there being... It's been a while since I played Ocarina of Time. I'm not sure. Anyways, but just me thinking on like what would be a really good mid-game boss fight. Well, the thing is, we know so little about Tears of the Kingdom. Like, context matters, right? I think that matters a lot. I don't know. So like the thing is, in Breath of the Wild, there's a mid bosses, but they're only mid depending on how you progress the game. If you defeat all the divine beasts, then there are no mid boss fights. If you don't beat any of them, then you have 4. So it's kind of interesting how they handle that. And it's actually something I sort of dislike about Breath of the Wild. So Breath of the Wild kind of punishes you in a way for beating the divine beasts because you don't get to fight them again. And it makes it harder it makes it if you beat the Divine Beast, it's easier to finish the game, which you could argue, hey, that's a reward. But I like having challenge, so losing out on more boss fights and more life with my final boss as a reward, it wasn't something I was a fan of. Moving through the chat here. Joy CJ. That's it. That's where it's at. Yes. I agree with you. A Cyberpunk Zelda. That I can kind of see, if they want to stick to Hyrule, doing something like that would be really cool. So imagine... Alright. Okay, hear me out. They could do it in two different ways. They can go even further into the future, where it's like Cyberpunk, or they go further back into the past than ever before, where there's a civilization that's super futuristic, and that's where it takes place. But there's still huge history. There'll still be parts that'll be very foresty and grassy and old and ruinous. Like, there'll still be those motifs, but there'll be futuristic areas as well. There'll be like cities and stuff like that. I think that would be cool. It would be a different take, but as long as you still fit in like those wilderness areas, like as long as it's like more of a blend, I think that would be neat. Like, imagine the idea would be that there's such an ancient world out there, right? Like, yes, you have some futuristic cities. Maybe they're like cities built to keep you in because the wild is very wild and powerful and dangerous, and going out there is a huge threat. Like, that would be a cool element, right? Like, maybe almost not, I mean, it may sound a little bit like Attack on Titan, because when you go out of the cities, it's dangerous, but Attack on Titan is not steampunk, right? Like, I want something more new and futuristic. Cyberpunk. I don't know why I said steampunk. My brain was mixing up the names. I meant like a futuristic world. Let's see here. Brian Doe. Because I have a big told you so for honors if we were talking about the book. Let me see. I'm trying to see what you were talking about. Yeah, I'm not talking about... We're not talking about the book. Having Hope 5. Pub Again was so hard, and Wind Waker, the third stage, I remember took me ages to beat. Yeah. The stage where it's a worm and you have to shoot the light arrow at it, that is such a problem. I had so much trouble with that as well. That was tough. Recently, I was still struggling because I had no arrows, so I had to kill the little like spiky ball things until I got arrows just so I could hit it. Giancarlo. What if the final boss in the game is done in a 3-part duel, exploring the planes we explore, first in the sky, followed by a free fall segment, then part 2 in the ruins of Hyrule. From space. You fall from space. But yeah, no, I really like that idea, actually. Having a battle with him there. What if... Okay. What if you can ride a dragon in the sky at the end? You ride Farosh, and Ganon rides like some giant demon dragon, and it's like you each have your mounts in the air, and there's a duel in the air, but eventually both dragons get hurt, you fall off, and you're battling each other, and then you're falling to your point, and there's this big crash, maybe with ruins, maybe Hyrule Castle does go close to the moon or something, there is a battle on the moon, it's just like you're falling down, having this dragon battle, and then you land, and then you have this final fight to your point, or where there's fire and ruins everywhere, and it's a huge, like, epic fight. Like, that would be so cool. I would love that. It'd be even cooler if pieces of the moon were crashing and falling down on Hyrule. Oh, man. That would be really neat, actually, because if the moon were to get destroyed... Okay, okay. All right, this is where I'm changing my mind. I'm like, you know what? Maybe they should make Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom a trilogy. So what if you do go to the moon? We're totally having fun with this idea, right? Like I know this probably won't happen, but we go to the moon. The final dungeons in the moon. The fight starts, and there's this big explosion, and the moon starts breaking apart because part of Link and Zelda's goal is to stop the source of the malice and the power. So the moon starts exploding, and you start fighting again. And we have our epic dragon battle. We're riding dragons falling down from the very top atmosphere of Earth, coming, just shooting down to the surface as you're dueling on these dragons. But there's rocks of the moon, giant rocks breaking off because he basically just blew up the moon. So chunks of the moon are falling down onto Earth or Hyrule, breaking it up, causing some significant damage. And you have your final fight, but basically this final event causes a significant change to the world. Like, most of the people will survive somehow, and there'll still be like a happy ending, but it will be somber because there will be some serious change to the map. Like, the moon will blow up, right? So it'll affect the physics of the world. It'll affect the literal, like, just the surface of the planet. Like, there's gonna be new mountains from the moon and new holes from the moon crash. Like, there's gonna be all these crazy things. And what it opens up to a third game, sort of, that's so far into the future. So it wouldn't be the same Link and Zelda anymore. But the implication would be that civilization had to adapt, leading to this futuristic age, this cyberpunk style, and there'll still be these areas that are very wild, and there will be huge, giant, tall forests, like maybe giant trees, but it'll also have these futuristic cities. And that would be like a third game, but it would still have its own unique style, still be far into the future with a new Link and Zelda. But it's just kind of like a connection they could make, and that would be cool. Like, it would be a way to change around the world of Hyrule significantly. Just an idea. Brian Doe, thank you for the super chat. Brian says, mushroom hats make my theory about Kilton valid. If we see mushroom hats. The idea being that Kilton is based off of Minish, right? There might be something to that. Let's see here. Enjoy CJ Adamy. I have a theory on Demise coming back since Fi is possibly out of the sword. Do you think this opens a door for Girahim also coming back? So let's think on this. Demise absorbs Girahim, or Girahim becomes his sword. At the end of Skyward Sword, what's left of Demise, Fi takes into the Master Sword, and the idea is that it's meant to decay Demise over time. So I don't know. I don't know about Girahim coming back. It'd be interesting, but my theory is that Ganondorf becomes very Demise-like, but he's not Demise. But it's almost like a same difference kind of thing. Yeah, Joycey, we're definitely BFFs in a different life. 100%. Let's see here. Phil Thatcher. Link becomes far too overpowered after defeating a couple of divine beasts. I'm hoping the difficulty level is higher in Tears of the Kingdom. I think it is. I definitely think it is going to be harder. Yeah. Just because it's a sequel, right? So more people are going to have more time and experience with Breath of the Wild, so that alone kind of lends it more towards the difficulty. We've seen them do that before, like with Majora's Mask compared to Ocarina of Time. And also, I think with the darker, more intense theme, that does also suggest that they're going with a slightly higher difficulty spike. And I would also like to think that Nintendo was made aware that people did not like the final fight for Breath of the Wild, how it was made too easy. So I would like to think that they're taking all of these different criticisms into account, and the difficulty have a little bit of a better balance. Kid Clarky, is there any genuine reason to speculate about the moon theory, or is it just a wish for the game? I mean, it's for fun, but I do think there is some level of, I'm not saying it's 100%, or even, I don't even know if 50. It's tough for me to put a percentage to it, but I do think there's something to the idea. It's mostly for fun, right? But the reason why we're talking about this, beyond just it being kind of just like a crazy fun idea, is because the Blood Moon seems to be more prominent in Tears of the Kingdom than it was in Breath of the Wild. And Zelda has said, or at least what appears to be the voice of Zelda, has said that she's not sure if Link can do it this time. Like, the implication is that the forces of Ganon are stronger than ever before, and there's a more of a challenge, and we don't have quite what it takes to do it. And so it seems that the source of Ganon's power comes from the moon and is super prominent in the trailers. But also, in Tears of the Kingdom, we are far higher in the air than ever before. But even the highest points we've seen from the footage, we see islands going way off screen up vertically. How high can you go? After a certain point, it's getting to the point where you're starting to leave some of the first layers of the atmosphere. And I'm not saying we can literally like just fly to the moon, but it'll get to a point where it's going to look like you're in space if you get high enough. And I am very curious about what that boundary will be. And then also, there is the element of we've seen that they create multiple flying crafts. There's a hovercraft, there's a hot air balloon. I'm not saying you'll be able to build a rocket ship, but what if you can? Probably won't take you to space, but it would be interesting. That just this idea of going higher and higher. But there's also this element of like this demonic power that is Ganon and the underworld and the mouse coming from it. And it's interesting when you consider that there are stories and stuff of like demons getting power from the moon. It's like there's a lot of that there as well. But then there's the other element of how before Breath of the Wild came out, they were playing around with concepts with UFOs and aliens attacking Link. And even the Sheikah, they have certain structures that took a closer look at the constellations, like they're based off constellations. So you have elements from Breath of the Wild that were about looking towards space. You have concepts before Breath of the Wild came out with the UFO attacking and following Link that shows, okay, they were playing around with some alien ideas beforehand. And you see this, that we're aiming to get really high up into the air, and there's this huge emphasis on the moon, and it seems to be the source of Ganon's power, and Ganon is stronger than ever before, and Zelda doesn't think we can defeat Ganon this time. There might be something to this idea about going to the moon, and it wouldn't be the first time. We did do it in Majora's Mask. We went to the moon in Majora's Mask. So how much of a stretch is it actually that we could go to the moon? Now, again, I don't think we would literally build a rocket ship and fly there, as interesting as that would be. I think more likely, if it were to even happen, it would be like just like a final boss fight kind of thing. Maybe there's like a secret dungeon you can teleport to by getting high enough that can kind of, get you over there. But look, obviously the other question is how would Ganon even be in the moon, right? Like that's just, why would he go there? Like there's no evidence to support the idea of Ganon going to the moon itself. But who knows? Deebus, what do you think about if they introduce Hylia in this game, and the next game Hylia is corrupted with something, we have to set out to kill God? I don't know if they'll go. I don't think they would do that. I don't know. I don't see them going to kill like a corrupted Hylia. It would be interesting. I just don't see them doing that. I do like the idea. I'll tell you this. If there were, I do like the idea of maybe them going in the direction of maybe it's a like a society that's like a corrupt society, maybe ruled by gods, and Link has to fight these gods. Like that would be cool to kind of have like a rebel sort of storyline. I would be for that. That we don't mind. If we go to space in Tears of the Kingdom, you have to post it on a live play stream for 1 whole day. Honestly, I can see it, but only for a final fight. Yeah, like I think if anything, like a final fight, but you'll get so high up that you'll see stars, and it'll be very you'll get really high where you can see space, but you won't actually be in space. You'll just be at the top of the earth. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't really believe it either. But, you know, there still may be more lore about the moon, though, in Tears of the Kingdom, regardless of whether the space idea is right. And tell you what, if it happens, if we go to space, I will stream it for a day. I promise. I'll do that. Let's see here. Okay. Metagaming. Now that you mentioned it, the oh no, my page crashed. I lost the chat. Okay, I think I'm back. Looks like we're still here. We're still alive. Okay, cool. All right, so where was it? Oh yeah, okay. Metagaming had said, now that you mention it, the Blood Moon obviously is a lot wilder than normal. How crazy is the idea after all, right? Netweed09. Come to think of it, the Flying Guardians are very UFO-like. Yeah, the digger we deep, the digger we deep, the deeper we dig. I said the digger we deep. I don't know. Yeah, but the deeper we dig, the more I kind of want it to make sense. Kid Clarky, I love the cyclical theory and the moon theory, but sadly I don't think they can coexist. I mean, you know, with theories, right? And then not all of them are going to be true. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Joy CJ, I think Girahim was a way to correct Zane's character flaws. Zane. Who's Zane? Who's Zane? Oh, Zant. Is it okay. Yeah. So I like. I mean, I didn't hate Zant. I actually like Zant. I thought Zant was cool. I guess what's disappointing about Zant is that when I was playing it, you know, he was made out to be the big bad, and it didn't feel like there was a lot of obvious connections to Ganondorf. There wasn't a good build-up for him, but you know, replaying through it again, I think there were hints throughout the game that Ganondorf was the true big bad, and Zant was just working for him the whole time. But I also think Girahim was a very well done villain. Not a main villain, but a very well done side villain. The whole tongue thing was just, you know, very, but in a good way. NATO Tomato, I wonder if there will be a special outfit to get higher into the atmosphere, or at least an oxygen tank. Maybe they could be used for underwater traversal. You know, that would be interesting, right? So, you know, again, we're not talking about necessarily space, right? But going back to what I was talking about earlier, what if at a certain point you're so high up into the sky that it gets colder, as it did in Breath of the Wild, but also oxygen becomes less frequent, less common, so thinner. The air gets thinner, so it's harder to breathe. So your stamina depletes more. So maybe there's an item in the game that's like a stamina boost or like an oxygen boost that could help you when you're exploring high up into the air, into the sky, to the point where it almost looks like you're in space. And then also maybe if there's underwater exploration as well, it could have a double effect there. I think it makes a lot of sense. So we'll see what they do, but I think it'd be really cool. It'd also be kind of poetic to have this item that helps you at the highest points of the planet, but also at the lowest points of the planet underwater. AB James, there seems to be no lava flow. I think we touched on this earlier. Maybe someone else asked about this. But you're saying there seems to be no lava flow in Elden region in Tears of the Kingdom. Maybe there's some story beat that makes the malice dissipate from Death Mountain. We can then enter the crater. I think there will be a story beat that lets us enter it. I speculated that it could be related to Zelda exploring underground, but that's just one of a few possibilities. Lol YOLO, do you think we're going to play as Zelda? I think Zelda's going to have, if she's not playable, I think she's going to have a lot more of a role than we realize. I think she's going to be a pivotal part to the actual story, and she's going to be relevant throughout. I don't think she's just going to be lost the whole time. Metagaming. A true power move from the Link is to destroy the moon along with Ganon at the end. Yep. Destroy the moon. Destroy the moon. That would be amazing. That's what I want to see. I'm all about that. It would be chaos, but it would be really cool epic ending that could have implications for a future game. See here. Devin Lyons. Tears of the Kingdom sphere in the trailer looks like Majora's moon. It's like a mini moon, right? It's very moon-like. Joe Manford. No, Zelda should have her own game. I really don't want to be forced to play as anyone else. If it's optional, then awesome. Yeah, I'm okay with Zelda being playable. It really just depends on how it's done. Because ultimately, what I want to have a full range of open exploration. I'm okay with some linear gameplay. Some if it's like, but only if it means that the entire world will eventually open up. Otherwise, then I wouldn't want that. Nah, you're good, Joycey. You were saying Girahim's ascent into madness is character perfection. I say it as a heavy reader and writer. I liked how crazy he was, and I do hope that we get a little bit more character development with in Tears of the Kingdom overall. Like I want to learn a little bit more about Ganondorf's past. I would like to get some perspective into his psyche. It would be interesting to get more lore on Link. I know not everyone feels the same way, but I would, let's put up a poll. We're getting close to ending the stream, by the way, guys. So it lasts like 10-ish minutes. I'm gonna put up a poll real quick, just to see what you guys think here. Okay. Would you be okay with Link talking if it was limited, if it was limited and done tastefully? Yeah. this question is specifically for in Tears of the Kingdom. I'm just kind of curious. I want to get a kind of overall idea of where you guys stand on this. Oh, Noah's winning so far. Oh man, let's see. All right, it's cool. Well, I'll let you guys vote on that for a little bit while I continue through the chat here. I guess I haven't talked too much about the Mario movie. I talked a little bit about it. Did say I would talk about it. So, yeah, I mean, I thought the trailer was good. You know, it was short. We got to see the Mario Kart stuff. Donkey Kong getting a Fire Flower power, though, that was cool. I really liked seeing that. And I like seeing Mario and Donkey Kong kind of fighting together, adventuring through. That was really nice to see. I was a little worried that Donkey Kong might be sort of relegated to more of a not important character, but just kind of like as a part of one scene. But it looks like he's gonna have like a fairly active role. So that's something I'm pretty happy to see. Zealous Geek Apprentice with another super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat. Zealous Geek Apprentice says, Link does speak, but never had a voice. Yeah, I mean, canonically, Link can speak, right? He just chooses not to because of society, at least in Breath of the Wild. So, I would like to see him, personally, I would be okay with him talking if it was like only like once or twice, just like for like key moments. Although, you know, I think if he talked, it would just help overall with the story. But just the way we've seen Link in the trailers, like he doesn't look like he talks, if that makes any sense. Like I don't see him talking. Like the way he seems animated, he just doesn't look like someone that can talk. He's almost lifeless. I see the poll is aging differently. At first, it was more no's. It was definitely like a heavy no, but now like the yes is, you know, winning out here. It's interesting. It seems pretty divisive though. I am aware of Link talking in Wind Waker. He would say, "Hey, and come on." That is correct, Netweed. Brian Doe, it sounds like they digitally edited the Mario voice. Listen closely, you can hear it. Pratt looks down in all of the recent videos. He knows it was bad, and I think they fixed it in post. I haven't gotten that vibe from seeing the interviews. He seems pretty into it, pretty excited about it. So, you know, I'm not really sure. I think that. Yeah, I'm honestly okay with. I'm okay with his voice. But I know it's a divisive topic. Not everyone feels the same way about that. NATO Tomato. Come to think of it, in the trailers, Link is already at a higher altitude than at any point in Breath of the Wild. However, his clothing doesn't look warm. Perhaps sky is a spirit realm and cold doesn't matter. Maybe, because it is that, and that is something I have noticed as well, that we are higher up. So the question is does temperature matter in Tears of the Kingdom? It mattered in Breath of the Wild. Will it still matter? That we're not sure on. I wonder, is it either A, because the spirit realm is warmer? Has the climate changed? Did they just take out that mechanic? Or could it be that because the Sky Realm has entered the same realm as Hyrule, that point of cold is just a lot higher now? Or maybe Link's tolerance has gone up because of the hand, but if the cold is more extreme, it can still impact him. Samuel A with another super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat, Samuel. Samuel says, this is completely out of the blue, but I'm getting major Attack on Titan vibes from Tears of the Kingdom. Eren Yeager and Ganondorf. I'm trying to see it. So is Eren Yeager Ganondorf? I'm trying to see where you're coming from here. I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around the idea. I mentioned Attack on Titan earlier, but I was talking about like a future game where you're like in a city and there's a wild outside of it. So I mean, Eren Yeager has this anger for the world. So if you mean like Ganondorf is kind of like really angry at everything, wants to destroy humanity, okay, I can kind of see that. I see another super chat from Samuel. Thank you very much for the super chat, buddy. Samuel explains, Eren Yeager and the things he does for his people compares to Ganondorf and the things he does for the Gerudo people. Yeah. Ganon from the Wind Waker seemed to be doing things for his people. It actually adds context for what Ganondorf might have been doing for his people in Ocarina of Time. What Ganon is doing in Tears of the Kingdom, though, I don't know if that's for his people. I don't think his people are the Gerudo anymore. I think he's something else altogether. He has given up on being a human or a Gerudo. But I do understand maybe the perspective of he's just accepted fully becoming a monster for his goals. And maybe they'll dive deeper into that lore. Maybe they'll explain why Ganondorf has done what he's done a little bit more. I would like to see it. I think that would be cool. Yeah, Samuel. Ganondorf is just sick of it. He is done with Lincoln Zelda. He's just so mad. He's just like he can't take it anymore. He just wants them to give up. Yeah, Brian saying that's not Ganon, it's Demise. It's a cycle restarting again. What if it's both? I think it's Ganon, but I think that Ganon is taking on a similar style to Demise. So in a way, it's poetically cyclical, but it's not literally cyclical. That's my perspective on it. Man, this poll is interesting. I should have thought of this poll way sooner because it is very divisive. First, it starts like 75% no, then it goes 60% yes, and now it's 51-49. Like, it is so split. 50-50. Come on, you guys are just playing with me at this point. Like, what do we actually, like, how, like, half of us are just straight up not okay with Link talking at all, even if it was limited and done tastefully. It's very interesting. I'll say that if this is a small sample size, right? I put this poll right at the end of the night, so not as many people will have seen it. So it's just not gonna have as many numbers there. But if this is a truly representative of how Zelda fans feel as a whole, though, where like almost about half are just not going to be okay with it, maybe that's a good reason for Nintendo to not do it. Although I'll also say that I mean, all right, I guess the better question is, would you still buy Zelda if Link was talking and you didn't like it? Because, for example, a lot of people are not okay with Chris Pratt's voice in the Mario movie, but does that mean you're not going to give the Mario movie a chance? Also, a movie and not being okay with the talking in a movie is one thing versus not being okay with the voice acting in a game, which is a much smaller portion of the game. ID White playthrough gaming. If the Master Sword is broken, Demise is released because Demise consciousness went back to Ganondorf because the consciousness of Demise been sleeping within Master Sword. So, couple things. Link is already getting attacked by Ganondorf before the Master Sword is broken. So there's already something in that corpse before the Master Sword is broken. And the other part with the Master Sword, though, is that yes, Demise is sealed inside the Master Sword, but he was supposed to be deteriorating over time. So he would have been completely... The implication is he would have been completely gone by this point. Of course, I think there's some... I think I'm gonna have to do some investigation into that. That'll actually be a good video. Just going more into detail on this, analyzing everything, questioning truly can Demise return or not. You know what? That might be the after I'm done with the Zelda roll video. Maybe that'll be the next one. Because I think that's a good topic. I'll do some research on it. Netweed09. I think Calamity Ganon was genius the way he tried desperately in the end to cobble all the Guardian pieces together, but ended up just a massive puppet Ganon, Spider, Freakazoid, amazing HP sponge thing. Right? Yeah. I actually thought it was a cool boss fight. I really liked it. Like, I remember when I fought that monster, I had this moment where I was like, oh, so this is next gen Zelda. Like that's how I felt when I fought that. But then I didn't like the pig beast thing at the end. That was a little disappointing. Sean Castle Singer. Movie would be bad without Link talking. Yeah, and that's actually why I've been campaigning for Link to talk, just because if they include some dialogue of Link talking in the games, it opens the door for there to be a movie as well. Because I don't think you can have a good movie with Link not talking at all. So that's my take on that. Edwin, I would pay to not have Link talk. Maybe that's the DLC. Or maybe there'll be an option to just shut off Link's voice. That would be interesting, actually, if they gave you the option. And you can choose to experience it how you want. Joe Manford, I think Link talking could ruin the game. I like a silent protagonist. I'd still buy it, probably, but it could be really bad, and I don't know if it's worth the risk. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think I've made my point that I personally don't think it would be, but that it's tough. You know, there's a reason why and one of the reasons I'm so high on Metroid Dread, because I think they handled Samus talking extremely well, and I think it helps if you choose a language that isn't like a language like I think it would be better if they spoke Hylian than English, you know? Like, that would be cool. Ooh. Like, what if there's an ancient tongue that Link can talk, so he can speak in the ancient tongue? He can also, in theory, speak English, but he never does. And he speaks in the ancient tongue a couple times. So it's not like normal human words, but it still sounds like a language, and it's just for a couple beats. Like, he might say Zelda, or like scream her name out or something to save her, or something, and then it's just a couple lines in like this ancient Hylian language that we can't actually understand, but you can tell it's an ancient language. It would just sound really cool. That's what Samus does in Metroid Dread. She speaks Chozo, and it sounds epic. It sounds like Spanish because it was done by Spanish voice actors. Sean Castle. If Link talked, who would be a good voice? I have no clue. I wish I could I could speak on that. I'm not really good at like paying attention to voice actor names. I'm not. Michael, I don't want him talking, but who is the best American actor to play him? Because cannot picture British accent. Interesting. I think Link should definitely have. I'll say this. I think Link should not sound super proper. I don't. Link is not like a very. He's not royalty, right? Like Zelda can sound a lot more proper. Link is kind of a knight, right? Like he's like he's lived a harder life. He's roughed and tussled. Like he hangs out with the boys, right? Like the knights, and like he's a little bit more street smart, I think. So I can see him just being a little bit more not proper. Being a little bit. I'm not saying like sound like a savage, but something a little bit more neutral. Brian, is anyone going to talk about how Zelda lies to Link at the end of Breath of the Wild? She asked if he remembers her. She was watching everything, including Link remembering her. Did she switch sides? I think there's just a certain point in time that's assumed that Zelda wasn't paying attention right at the end, and she may not be aware of the flashbacks either. Like, I don't think she watches Link the whole time. She just comes in occasionally, and she wants to know if she remembers him yet. I think they accidentally run into Ganon, Brian. I don't think they do it intentionally. I think it's all just happens via coincidence or destiny, if you so choose. Paco Salvador, I don't mind Link talking. He is already an established character. He is not like a self-insert like modern Pokemon protagonist. Yeah, and that is, I think that's a good point. Link has a history, a character. There is some personality to him, although still very limited. He isn't like straight up like, hey, pick your own name. And I think that's an interesting difference between Breath of the Wild Link and all other previous Links. You can't pick your name in Breath of the Wild. You are a Link. That's what you are. And I think they did that because of the story direction, how there would be voice acting. They wanted to say Link, and that's ultimately why they went with that. And I think that was a good choice. I think they need to pick up on the story. And I think in order to have a good story, you need to be able to talk to your character. Your character needs to be able to talk. So I think it's something they're just going to have. I think it's a Band-Aid that will have to be ripped off. And I think you do it little by little, and you do it in very tasteful, careful ways. Or you just leave it as is, and you just don't improve the story. Or you find a way to improve the story without having Link talking, which I think would be weird. It may have been one of the reasons why they thought flashbacks were a good idea. Although Link was still involved with them, so maybe not. Of course. I'm just thinking on it. I think the flashbacks do matter still, because during the time of the flashbacks, he had made his vow of silence. So his vow of silence made sense then, but his vow of silence doesn't actually make sense in the current time, actually, because the idea was because there was a lot of societal pressure with him being the knight, the reincarnation of Link with the Master Sword and all. So, and, being the Zelda's attendant or knight. That's not there anymore, so his reason to be silent isn't there. So if they had more active cutscenes in the current time, his choice to be silent would be a little bit more awkward, which raises the question, will he speak in Tears of the Kingdom? I think that is, I don't know. But I'll say that there's nothing they've shown that suggests that he will. I kind of want him to, but there's nothing they show him that suggests so. Alrighty. I'm almost at the end here, guys. Paco Salvador. I think the perfect example of a stoic silent protagonist is Master Chief from Halo. He talks, but not a lot. Link would be perfect like that. I agree. Not to sound like Master Chief with his voice. His voice should sound different. But I think it's like a man of few words, but choice words, and he says them when they matter, when they're necessary. Very limited, but it's enough for the story to flow well. And it could be a couple times where it can be impactful. Like, I can see a moment where Zella's in trouble and he needs to call out to her. Like, that would be cool. You know, I'll say this IDY. I see what you're saying here. Link been chosen not to talk because the player wants to feel like they're the hero to save Hyrule. I don't get that. I don't agree with that take. But that's a take Nintendo has had and said. Because I can play games where the character isn't even someone that I would relate to. Like, for example, I love Metroid. Talk about Metroid all the time. And as I play Metroid, it is a little bit of a self-insert. I mean, Metroid Prime, it's in first person. It's more of a self-insert. But Samus is a woman. And even in Metroid Dread, she's a woman who talks. You can hear her voice. She's nothing like me. But it's still like a self-insert. I can still enjoy that story and become fully immersed into it. So, I only say that to suggest that, like, I don't know. I don't think of having a voice takes away from someone's ability to insert themselves into a story. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to end the poll. All right. It's near the end of the night. We got 49 votes in. And 57% said yes, 42% said no. So as it ended, and you know, I'll probably have to do this poll again so it can be a larger sample size there. But that suggests more people would be okay with it, but still a large amount wouldn't. Game over, Jesse. How you doing, buddy? Can you tell your boyfriend Miyamoto to add Zelda to Mario Kart? Hey, boy, Miyamoto that is not what he is to me. But I would love Zelda to be added to Mario Kart. I would be down for that. Oh, that would be cool cross promotion. See, you know that's just funny. That I interpret BF as boyfriend, not best friend. That is just my brain. But either way, Miyamoto's not my best friend either, sadly. But yeah, I am 100% down for Zelda to be added to Mario Kart. It'll be tricky because technically they said that it's the only they're focusing on returning Mario Kart characters, but every time they've done something with the DLC, they kind of go a little bit above and beyond, right? So I think that even though they've told us they're giving us returning characters, I honestly would not be surprised if there's like one character that hasn't been in a Mario Kart game before that's added. And I think Zelda would be a great fit. You know, if they want to add Zelda as a cross-promotional character this May, I would be really okay with that. I would be really okay with that. Heck, I mean, they could even just add her as like as an alternate skin to Link. Nah, she would have to have her own spot. I think she would have to have her own spot. But yeah, I would be very happy. And it'd be cool if you can choose between your short hair and long hair version. Or just like, ooh, it would be cooler if they give if you have maybe you use short hair Breath of the Wild Zelda, but you also have like classic Zelda. Like they could use the Smash design of her with the long hair. That would be cool. Paco Salvador. Master Chief is also that you can insert yourself in the character type. I don't understand why people are so hostile towards Link talking when we have success cases like Master Chief. I mean, I think ultimately it just comes down to, you know, people know how Link has been, and a lot of people don't want that to change, right? Some people are scared of change. Some people think change isn't necessary. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. I am a little bit more open to change, right? But also at the same time, I mean, honestly, I personally think it'll be okay because I don't think Zelda stories are amazing, amazingly told, I should say. Like, there's a lot of cool lore and theories, right? But I think the storytelling of Zelda has room for growth. And I think in order to improve it, you're going to have to take some risks. And they took a lot of risks because they included voice acting in Breath of the Wild, right? And a lot of people still complain about Zelda's voice. So, you know, no matter what you do, there's going to be people who are not okay with a voice for a character. It's always going to be divisive. And if you don't do any voices, people are going to be upset that you don't have any voices. You can never make everyone happy. That's impossible. Yeah. Anyways, guys, if you guys could like this stream, it would be super helpful. If you're new here, please subscribe. We have Nintendo content every day. That is something I can say with confidence now. We're making videos literally every day. And there will be more. I have a couple of Zelda theories planned, and they'll be coming soon. And I will be watching the Mario movie. And talking about that when that comes. So... anyways, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you all really soon. Have a good night. Bye.